The concept of the Hyuga falling instead of the Uchiha is one that has always interested me, not because it was possible, but because it wasn't. Alright, maybe impossible isn't the right word, more like improbable. You see, the concept was actually canonically talked about at least once, particularly by Grab Hands Danzo, who was jealous of Ao's Byakugan and stated that he would not hesitate to destroy the Hyuga if Ao's usage of the Byakugan had happened because of treason. The point of the matter is, though, excluding any outside forces wanting to destroy them for no reason, and excluding a single rogue head of the clan, the Hyuga were unable to rebel because the entire clan, save for the head of the clan, was under such control and a strict caste system that ensured that they never had the freedom of choice to rebel. It functioned very much like a hive of honeybees. You had the queen, and you had those bees who were candidates to become queens, but then you were surrounded by workers who had one job and one job only, and that is to do their job assigned to them by birth until they die without change or choice, and be willing to sacrifice anything to protect this way of life. That's how the Hyuga work. They're tightly knit for better or worse, and your uncles and distant cousins generally have control over you. The only choice you get is how to die, and even then that might get taken away. The point is, there could be no rebellion because of this, and the single reason, the crux of Hyuga Control, was the curse mark of the caged bird. This ensured that your Byakugan were the property of the Hyuga Clan and that you could not use or trade them under any circumstances, and your life was theirs to command and control. If you stood up against them, you would be punished, your brain fried. So there wasn't as much of a choice to stop them. This was effective, and in one particular view was even a form of responsibility. But there comes a point where responsibility becomes cruelty, and that's where the Hyuga failed. Yeah, they remained loyal to the leaf, but at what cost? A while back, we began exploring a world where the Hyuga suddenly lost control of one of their most disgruntled users, which led to their downfall. Let's see what happens next. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. We've also noticed that a lot of folks who are watching our videos aren't necessarily subscribed to our channel. We know that YouTube does a good job of recommending you what you want to watch, but if you don't want to miss a single video and if you want to support the Amagi, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers in all of our accounts by the end of the year. Itachi was in the house with Makoto. She was cleaning up his skinned knees and wrapping them up to stave off infection and help them heal. Itachi winced as the alcohol was applied. Makoto had a soft smile on her face as she focused on the task. Despite her attention to his knees, she still managed to ask how it went. Itachi told her the honest truth, that he was disappointed because he was so close, merely a half a foot away from victory before he was caught by his father. But he did take pride in the fact that it forced his father to make use of his Mangekyo Sharingan to win. Makoto's face did not betray her thoughts on this, as she maintained the same expression and level of attentiveness as before. Deep down, she believed that Fugaku had done that on purpose. Fugaku was a very competitive man, and this included the games he played. Fugaku was not a man to let anyone win, and he would go to any lengths to beat you, even so far as forgetting that he was playing a simple game with a 12-year-old. You forced him to use his Mangekyo. That means he had to use his full power just to stop you, and you still almost won. I wouldn't be disappointed with that. In the next few months, as you continue to grow stronger, you'll overtake him. And that promise is a prize worth more than a moment of victory. Itachi smiled. That's what Dad said. He said we could beat him in about a month. I suppose I'm just a little let down. I was certain I'd beaten him. She gently wrapped the bandages around his knees. I know you are, but keep your eyes on the positives and find a silver lining in every bad thing. If you do this, and you always look for the good, she looked up and smiled, putting her hands on his cheek. That's all you'll ever see. Itachi's eyes sparkled as he considered her logic. She hadn't said it, and she didn't need to. There would always be bad, and this outlook she was recommending didn't stop pain from entering your life, but it could help alleviate it and help keep you happy. Suddenly, Itachi coughed. Not once or twice, but a whole fit. Makoto began to pat his back. Are you okay, Itachi? He nodded. I just got a little strangled. My bad. Makoto put her hand to his head. Itachi, you have a fever. Are you sure you're okay? She pushed his hair from his face, and for the first time his expression changed. Now it displayed a bit of anxiousness. I'll be fine, Mom, he said. It's just that time of year again. You know I get fevers when allergy season rolls around. She seemed to smile a bit. She kissed his head and helped him stand. She pat his back. Go off and play with the others. Itachi nodded and ran off. Makoto turned back to watch him go for a moment and felt as if her heart had stopped for just a moment. She took a breath and ignored whatever feeling this was and went about her daily duties as mother. All the while, Fugaku was in his office with Hiruzen. Fugaku slumped in his chair, his elbow on the armrest, hand raised over his face as he tried to process this new information. The Hyuga Clan? I checked it out myself, Hiruzen said as he sat in the most comfortable chair Fugaku could provide. Hiyashi Hyuga was murdered, as was his father the Elder and his daughter Hinata. The whole clan was found slaughtered, except for one, Hanabi. She was the only one spared. Fugaku didn't know what to say or do about this. What is it that the Uchiha clan can do to help in this situation? Hiruzen thought for a moment. Whatever slack left behind by the Hyuga will have to be evenly distributed among the rest of Konoha's 3 noble clans. I've already spoken to the Aburame clan about this and need to speak with the Akamichi clan next. Whatever there is that you can do to aid the others will be most welcome. Fugaku stood from his seat and helped up Hiruzen. Of course, I will be glad to. He walked Hiruzen to the door. One final thing. How's the investigation come? Do you have any idea of who may be behind this? Hiruzen stroked his chin. We have no suspect yet. However, we're interviewing Hanabi right now. Fugaku seemed a little concerned. Is she really a reliable witness? She's probably no older than 2, correct? Hiruzen took a breath and released it as a sigh. She's the only lead we have. We'll have to make do. We'll attempt to corroborate her statements with any evidence we can find to make sure that what she's saying is correct. In the meantime, I actually came to offer a mission to your children. If you would, have them meet me sometime tomorrow. Then we can discuss their mission objectives. Fugaku nodded. I'll let them know. Hiruzen smiled and bid him good day before leaving to continue making his rounds, notifying the rest of the noble clans. Fugaku returned to the interior of his house and made his way to the room where his children were. There he found Sasuke and Naruto playing a video game, and Itachi in the corner, snuggled up in a blanket, resting on a pile of stuffed animals. He looked like he was sleeping really hard. Fugaku laughed a little. Play hard, rest hard. He turned to Sasuke and Naruto and began to talk to them about it. He told them that Hiruzen was hoping to meet with them sometime in the morning to discuss a mission and to inform Itachi when he woke up. Naruto and Sasuke acknowledged this and returned to their game. The day thereafter, Itachi, Sasuke, and Naruto set out at the brink of dawn for the Hokage's residence. There they waited for Hiruzen to speak. Itachi was the head of their little group and would be the one in charge of the mission as per usual. Sasuke and Naruto never contested this, as Itachi was by far the strongest of the 3, as well as the wisest and most intelligent. Itachi was one of those who came once in a lifetime that you knew had no fate other than becoming Hokage. That was the honest truth of it. Following Itachi's example, they stood with honor and pride, not speaking and maintaining their patience so as to let Hiruzen prepare in peace. This politeness was something that always caught Hiruzen's eye. If only all generations of shinobi could be like this one. He smiled and pushed a piece of paper toward their side of the desk. Itachi reached out and took the slip. Hiruzen began to explain that there was a certain bridge worker who needed an escort to the Land of Waves, and that Itachi's team was chosen to perform the mission due to their display of skill in prior missions. Itachi and his team were excited about this and their ability to help Konoha once again. The trio would then return to their home for an hour to pack properly and inform their family of the mission and the time frame that they were expected to be gone from the village. Fugaku, proud of his 3 sons, would bid them all farewell, while Makoto helped them pack. Makoto eventually made her way to Itachi, who by this time had already managed to finish packing. She smiled and pulled him into her embrace. Are you sure you feel okay to go on this mission, Itachi? If you're still feeling sick, we can tell Mr. Hiruzen and he'll understand. Itachi smiled. I feel fine, Mom. You worry too much. A little time out of the village will do me good. Makoto would kiss his cheek, embarrassing the boy a little. Okay, but don't push yourself too hard, and be sure to stay safe and have fun. She then saw the trio off. Itachi, Sasuke, and Naruto would eventually find Tizuna, who was waiting for them by the gate. The old man seemed tired and ready to go home. He looked like he'd been standing there for hours, and his expression was that of someone who was beginning to lose patience. His expression shifted to confusion when he saw 3 children approach him.
Wait, they're sending me out with kids? I thought I paid for Joni, not juniors.
Itachi offered him a smile. With all due respect, sir, we're considered elite shinobi by comparison with the rest in our age range. We'll do in a pinch. Tazuna sighed.
You better be exactly what I paid for.
And so the group of 4 set out. As they did, what you would normally expect occurred. The demon brothers pop out to ambush them, but they're completely fodderized by Itachi, Sasuke, and Naruto, all of which have been training their rears off for as long as they could walk and do hand signs. And with the skills these 3 possess, it becomes very clear to Tazuna why he was sent these kids. In fact, he begins to wonder if he didn't quite pay enough for this. They're that good in his eyes. But just because the demon brothers were practically nothing to them, it doesn't mean the same will be true of Zabuza. Now, Zabuza is one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, and you don't just become one of those because you like to talk about swords. No, he is one of the better shinobi that all of Kiri has to offer, or technically, had to offer. I say this because he's not really with Kiri anymore. He's rogue and working as a mercenary, and right now he was hired to have Tazuna killed, and the only thing standing in his way are these 3 children, so a battle takes place. However, he comes to realize really late that he's dealing with some of the better shinobi this generation has to offer. Itachi himself has the capabilities and know-how to really give Zabuza a run for his money, particularly because the boy already has a set of 3 Tomoe Sharingan. Sasuke has an eye with 2 and an eye with 1, but regardless of that, he's still a threat. Sasuke would team up with Itachi to push forward when he sees Itachi starting to struggle. By this time, the battle is a dead even match, but here comes Naruto to tip the balances. If Sasuke and Itachi were spearheads, Naruto is a hammer. He may not be as accurate or graceful, but he has the strength and force behind him to shatter defenses like it doesn't even matter, particularly because his training at this time under Fugaku, sanctioned by Hiruzen, has led to him making use of the version 1 cloak and mastering it. Version 2 is still way out of reach, but that's okay as it leaves him room to grow. Together, the 3 manage to just outwit Zabuza, causing him to flee. Tazuna watches Zabuza get away and clicks his tongue.
That's gonna be an issue in the future.
He looks to the 3 of them and crosses his arms with a smile.
I must say, the level of skill you kids have is utterly incredible. I never would have guessed that such a large amount of skill could be hidden within such a small package.
Suddenly, Itachi's knees buckle and he hits the ground to the surprise of everyone else. He grips at his chest and wheezes loudly. He coughs and falls to his side. Sasuke runs to him. Itachi! He holds him up. Itachi! Itachi, what's wrong? Itachi tries to form words, but he can't speak. He almost sounds like he's choking on the oxygen he's attempting to breathe, and Sasuke believes that he witnesses blood on Itachi's teeth. Tazuna comes to their side and looks to Itachi.
What happened to him? This doesn't seem right.
Naruto is just standing a little ways away, still in shock, trying to process what just happened. He'd never seen this before. Tazuna picks Itachi up.
We're not far from my house. We're gonna get him there and let him rest.
The group then rush to Tazuna's home where he allows Itachi to rest. Tazuna calls for a doctor. Now, given how Gato had taken control of their little village, poverty had risen. The people could just hardly afford doctors, and doctors didn't have the proper time to study as they had to scramble for some other way to make money to keep themselves and their families afloat. So the best you had were usually people of the same level of knowledge as a low-level nurse. The doctor would come and check up on Itachi to see what was wrong. They wait outside nervously. Tazuna, at this point, despite knowing their skill, is reminded that they're just kids, not too different from Inari. They're skilled, and so they should be. When something happens to your friend like what they just witnessed, fear is the only reaction. But he also gives them encouragement, telling them that it'll all be okay, and reminding them that they performed properly during the emergency, telling them that it was a testament to how truly ingrained into their being their skill was. Eventually, the doctor would come out, and Sasuke is the first to act about it. The doctor wipes his hands.
Does your brother have a history with asthma, chronic bronchitis, tuberculosis?
Sasuke shakes his head. The doctor takes a deep breath and releases it slowly.
Well, I've prescribed some antibiotics. It seems that the restricted breathing fit has passed, but I suggest plenty of bed rest and nothing too strenuous until he can get a proper diagnosis and treatment by someone with better medical knowledge than I.
Sasuke nodded, as did Naruto. After the doctor left, the 2 of them would enter Itachi's room to see him laying there in the bed, resting. His face gave off the impression that he was miserable, and such an expression was only natural for someone who went through what he had gone through. The 2 boys sat there by his side the entire time, with Tazuna watching. He spoke to them quietly.
Be careful, boys. If he has tuberculosis, it could be contagious.
Sasuke didn't even look back.
I don't care. He's my brother, and I'm not gonna leave him to suffer alone.
The day after, Sasuke and Naruto were on the bridge with the builders, having left Itachi behind to rest. Through the night, Itachi had developed a fever that still hadn't gone away, and Sasuke had been up practically all night tending to him. Now, currently, Tsunami had taken it upon herself to tend to Itachi's needs, but Sasuke and Naruto had not slept much, and though they were trained to go quite some time without sleep, the fatigue was catching up with them. That's when both Haku and Zabuza showed up. Naruto and Sasuke would split their adversaries between each other, with Naruto taking Haku and Sasuke taking Zabuza. The four did battle for a while, and though Naruto and Sasuke were strong, neither could gain purchase over the other, and it became a long battle of attrition. That was until Gato showed up with his mob. Sasuke and Naruto looked over, and to their horror, they saw that Gato's men had captured the inhabitants of Tezuna's household, including Itachi. Sasuke raised his hand. Wait. Gato raised a brow and smiled. Oh, is this shinobi here worth something to you? Sasuke on his knees sat there. Please, I beg of you, spare him. Gato's smile shifted into a grin. And what are you willing to do for this? Sasuke's eyes were turned down toward the concrete. Anything. He's my brother. Gato began to laugh. All right, kill the old man. Sasuke looked up. What? You heard me, Gato said as his grip around Itachi's neck tightened. Kill Tezuna and I'll let your brother go. Sasuke stood and took out a kunai and walked to Tezuna. He looked at it in his hand. Take an innocent life and abandon your mission. All to save your brother. Could he really do it? Should he? Sasuke shook his head as he began to tear up. He fell to his knees. I can't do it. Tezuna saw this. There was no sense in sending children out to do a man's job. That was the issue with Konoha sending these kids, or any kids for that matter, out on missions alone. All the same, Tezuna couldn't stand watching Sasuke being forced to choose, and so Tezuna took the kunai from him and ended his own life. Sasuke asked him why he would do such a thing, and with Tezuna's final breath he spoke. I did it so that Inari and Tsunami are safe. Tezuna then fell over. Sasuke stood. Slowly, the men Gato had brought with him crossed the bridge and began slaughtering the workers, all while Sasuke couldn't take his eyes off Tezuna's body. He only looked away when he turned to Gato. The old Yakuza adjusted his glasses and smiled. A deal's a deal. The shinobi is yours, if you can save him. He then threw Itachi off of the bridge into the water below. Sasuke ran to the edge. Itachi! He saw him hit the water. Sasuke would dive down into it below and swim deeper until he found Itachi and began pulling him back to the surface. Sasuke coughed as his lungs tried to expel the water they had inadvertently taken in. Naruto stood on the bridge's edge and looked down. Sasuke looked up. Naruto, help me! Naruto dived in as well and helped pull Sasuke and Itachi up from the water. The trio then rested for a bit in Tezuna's home. Tsunami and Inari had been spared due to the actions of Tezuna, but Tsunami was now quiet. She didn't speak to the boys, and Inari was so full of rage that he cursed them and spat at them. On one occasion, he even tried to attack Sasuke, screaming that heroes don't exist, and that he should have known that Sasuke would be so selfish. The guilt began to eat away at Sasuke as he realized he'd been too weak to stop Tezuna. But what else was he supposed to do? He was about to lose Itachi. For about a day, they rested. Then, when Itachi was well enough to travel, they began to make their way back to Konoha, where Sasuke would give an account for the mission, to which Hiruzen would say was unfortunate and mark it as a failure. He would then begin organizing a mission to send more shinobi to the Land of Waves in an attempt to break Gato's control, which would likely lead to a bloody conflict. One Konoha would eventually win, but not without cost. Returning to their family's household, Itachi would be brought in by Sasuke, and Fugaku and Makoto would both rush to their side, worried for Itachi's sake. Makoto would tell Itachi that she thought it was too early for him to go, to which Fugaku would ask her what this meant. She would tell Fugaku everything about his cough and low-grade fever he had the day of their training session. She had thought it was allergies, but according to what Sasuke and Naruto had said, as well as the doctor who had come by to check him out, it was far worse than that. Makoto would tend to Itachi and stay by his side, helping him fight his fever. Fugaku would send for another doctor to get a second opinion, as even the doctor of the Land of Waves recommended. The doctor would arrive and enter Itachi's room to begin the examination, questioning Itachi on symptoms and giving him a complete physical, including a blood test. Makoto would be pacing the floor in Fugaku's office as he sat in his chair. Naruto and Sasuke were instructed to just go to another room and play video games or something, which they were doing, though they remained very quiet, as if only going through the motions. Fugaku watched his wife. "Wouldn't you like to sit down, Makoto?" he asked. She shook her head. No, I don't think I can. Not with Itachi like this." Fugaku stood and walked over to her and put his hands on her shoulders. "It's going to be okay. These things happen sometimes, and they always get better. Remember what you told me all those years ago. Look for the silver lining and focus on that." She shook her head. "I can't. There isn't one." Fugaku felt his heart drop. "Why do you say that?" She blinked. "I don't know. I just feel that way." It wasn't much longer before the doctor came into the office. He knocked once on the door jamb before Fugaku invited him in. Fugaku sat down in a chair, as did Makoto. The doctor also took a seat. "How is he, doctor?" Fugaku asked. Makoto stared on with intensity in her eyes, as if somehow what this man said next would dictate whether she lived or died. The doctor sat there for a moment silently, looking as if he wanted to speak, but every time he took a breath, he let it back out with a sigh and tried again. "I've been doing some tests and..." He trailed off. "And what? Just spit it out, damn it!" Fugaku exclaimed as he leaned back in his chair. The doctor, a little startled by this outburst, tried to collect himself before beginning again. "I ran a complete physical and noted some unusual things in your son's physical health. First off, he's quite underweight. Have you noticed?" Fugaku shook his head. "I haven't." The doctor continued. "He's been steadily losing weight for a while, and I believe he may have been trying to hide it. I can see each of his ribs clearly, as well as his spine." Makoto seemed shocked. "We feed him well enough." The doctor nods. "I'm sure you do. I'm not saying you don't, Miss Makoto. This is an abnormality within his body. He said that this has been going on for a while, and he didn't want to alarm anyone. He assumed he just wasn't eating enough. And considering the nature of his symptoms, I believe we're going to have to run more extensive tests. I've taken a sample of his blood, and I'm going to look into it to see what's wrong. For now, I encourage you to make sure he's resting and let me know if there's any change in his physical condition." Fugaku and Makoto nodded and let him leave. After he was gone, Fugaku walked into Itachi's room where the boy was resting. He knelt down beside him. "Itachi." Itachi opened his eyes. "Yeah?" Fugaku swallowed. "Why didn't you tell us this stuff was going on?" Itachi was silent for a moment, as if he were trying to properly articulate what he was going to say next. "I didn't want you to worry about me. I didn't think it was a big deal." Fugaku shook his head. "The doctor said you're sickly thin. You should have known that something wasn't right, and you should have told us. Why did you go so long without mentioning this?" Itachi looked at his father with a hint of a tear in his eye. "I'm sorry, Papa." Fugaku immediately melted. "I love you, you know this, right? I love you more than anything in the whole world, and I would die for you. I just want you to be healthy." Fugaku stood. "Get some rest." As he was about to step out, he heard a voice speak. "I lied." Fugaku looked back to see Itachi was sitting up in bed. "I lied, father." Fugaku turned around. "About what?" Itachi looked up, tears starting to drip down his cheeks. "I knew something was wrong with me, and I didn't tell you because I was afraid that..." "Afraid of what?" Fugaku asked. Itachi almost lost composure, as the sound of his voice proved. "I was afraid you would stop letting me go on missions. Stop letting me train with you." His voice was breaking down more and more as his face was displaying anguish. "Stop letting me serve Konoha." He finally broke all the way down. "And stop letting me play with Sasuke and Naruto." Tears fell down his cheeks as he cried. Fugaku sat down on the bed beside Itachi and held him in his arms. "You're right. I would've. And you know why that is? It's because I love you, and making sure you're healthy means more to me than what kind of shinobi you'll grow up to be." He sat Itachi on his lap. "You know I would have been so happy no matter what dream you had chosen. If you had chosen to do anything else other than be a shinobi, I would have been proud, and I still would be even if you or your brothers decide to change careers at any time. I'm upset because you let yourself continue and get more and more unhealthy without telling me. That's why I'm so upset. And yes, I am going to take you off of missions and training, but I'm not going to tell you that you can't play with your brothers. I just want you to get better, okay?" Itachi nodded, but hadn't yet stopped crying. Fugaku would hold his son as he rocked him back and forth. Out of the corner of his eye, Fugaku noticed Sasuke watching from around the corner. Their eyes met and locked on for the span of about 5 seconds before Sasuke turned and walked on. Fugaku stayed with Itachi and kept him company until eventually he fell asleep. Some time would pass, and Fugaku would explain to Makoto what he had said, and it would startle her. To know how far he'd been pushing himself, neglecting his own health just to please his father, that upset her more than words could dictate, and Fugaku shared the same sentiment. Eventually, the test results would come back, and the doctor would return to speak with them about it. Fugaku and Makoto would be sitting there in their chairs. The doctor would also take a seat and begin to speak. "I'm sorry to tell you this, but the results of the blood test showed that he has an abnormally high level of CEA in his blood." Fugaku tried to understand. "What does this mean exactly?" The doctor continued. "It's a protein that's normally found during pregnancy and is present in a baby as it grows. Normally, this protein begins to drop off after birth. Such incredible amounts of it after birth, particularly when one is in or close to adulthood, is generally a sign of a tumor." Makoto's eyes got wider and wider as her brow began to furrow more and more. "Tumor?" The doctor nodded. "We believe that Itachi may have lung cancer." Fugaku groaned as he sat forward. "How long has he had it? Can he be cured?" The doctor took a breath. "We don't know. It's hard to say without more tests. You will need to bring him in to see for certain where he is, and from there we can brainstorm treatments. But for now, it's paramount that you don't let him overexert himself." Makoto and Fugaku were silent. The doctor stood. "I'll set up an appointment. I'll see you later." He left. Makoto just sat there, silently. "Cancer. Itachi has..." As the doctor left the room, he noticed Sasuke standing outside of the room, looking up at him with a tearful look in his eyes. Sasuke made his way up the stairs into his room, where he shut the door and locked it. He began to cry. He fell to his knees. How could this happen? Why? Why does Itachi have to be sick? He asked himself, wondering where the silver lining to this was. How unfair, how cruel and unfair a fate this was. As he sat there and cried, slowly, Sasuke's tears turned to blood, the appearance of a dark flower appearing in the iris of his eye. Itachi. I think that's the best place to stop for now. Honestly, the Naruto series has never explained exactly what it was that Itachi was sick with. It never explained what Kimimaro was sick with either, other than the fact that it was terminal. I heard some say it was cystic fibrosis, others it was cancer. Some people say it was just simply his guilt eating away at him. Kishimoto never explained what it was, but nonetheless it happened. To be perfectly frank with you, I didn't much like making this part of the story. One of these days, I'm just gonna have to make you all a what if about what if Itachi got to live the life he deserved to have, where he could reach his prime and do the things he always wanted to do. Perhaps I'll title that one, What If Shisui and Itachi Saved the Uchiha or something. Let me know down below if that's what you would like to see. Until next time, peace out.
Did you enjoy our video? Well then be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.